So yeah, we heard a lot about AI standardization, about problems of verification of AI, about yeah, some collaboration aspects, about yeah, the practical aspects of bringing AI into reality. I have a few questions on my list, but I'm not sure where to start. Maybe one thing, not sure if that's the right question for this session, but we had one question that we didn't answer earlier, and we have these two certification and regulation aspects of AI certification, and then also medical device regulation. And one question in the chat earlier was how do these two play together, and what's the role of MDR certification in this process of AI certification, or vice versa? And I was wondering if some of the speakers from earlier today have an opinion on this.
Yes, perhaps I can give a comment on my question.
Oh yeah, this would be great.
The question was, as a manufacturer, you have to run through all these things to give a certification for your product and to fix CE mark at the end. And my question was, do manufacturers also have to go to these AI hubs, or will the AI hubs take over part of the work? So has a manufacturer more to do or less to do with assistance by these AI hubs?
May I, maybe?
Yeah, please.
My impression was from today, especially from the talk of Professor Walser, who brought the topic up of these AI hubs, that indeed these hubs are in the making. So I would guess, I don't know, but I would guess that your question, Jens-Uwe, is an open one. It seems to be a process in development, and that's or maybe somebody else in the among the audience has a better answer to this, but this is what I understood today. So Professor Walser said that, if I remember correctly, that just last week the idea was that there was something founded by BSI and TÜV together, or something that goes into this direction. So much of this seems to be in the cooking still. So this brings me back to the offer that Mr. Scalzo made with the public consultation process at the EU. Maybe if anyone today has any comments on upcoming regulation and also standards and all the things we heard today, maybe we can organize a process where we collect these, or if you want, you can of course answer to the public consultation process by the EU, for example, by yourself. The link was sent around today. But I guess my point is that right now it may be a good time to comment on all these things, also from industry, and make your voice heard. I noticed that Mr. Scalzo took a note today when Dominik Burzivoda made his point that he feels things are getting over-regulated or are already over-regulated. Yeah. Any comments on this?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yeah, maybe that I understood this correct, that these AI hubs, and this is all German national. So the question is, how can this be fed into a European regulation? Because they probably will not give a special regard to some kind of special way in Germany in the European legislation.
That's another good point. It reminds me a little bit of, we also discussed about Eudamed today, and in one of the talks, I think it was the talk of Ms. Heuer or Ms. Ziegenberg, she, on one of the slides, showed the exercise of Eudamed, and where you can actually find the public authorities also. And I opened this once, I think 2 weeks ago, and took a look at it, and I found there's exactly one public authority in every European member state listed there, except for Germany. There's, I believe, 33. So that's Eudamed, but maybe we see a similar constellation coming up here for AI, where there's a European regulation. And then there's, given the federal structure of Germany and all we heard today, then there's another fairly complex system coming up for Germany in addition.
Because if you think the AI hub as an additional checkpoint, it would of course mean that it's an additional hurdle for German-based companies compared to the other competitors in Europe, and probably the European Commission would not allow for that.
Well, any other opinions on this from the group?
Maybe I have a completely different question to Dominik Burzivoda, if he's still here. So one thing that I see, especially with this digitale Gesundheitsanwendung and so on, so if I want to apply some kind of learning or anything to machine learning automation to daily health as you do, then I always have the problem that I have no continuously or as little continuously measured data. So there's, now you have like within some watches can measure your pulse and so on, and you have this this glucose monitoring, but so this is an additional sensor that people need to wear all the time. So I have two questions. So what is this sensor and how does it work that it's continuously monitoring glucose level? Because I always thought that you need the needle and and so on to do this. And yeah, what's the outlook on this? Because for me, the direction seems to be to, if you want to improve this kind of daily healthcare, then you need to have measures to gather more data, obviously. And yeah, what's the two questions?
Yeah, I mean, so in our case, we trained our algorithms basically with our real-world data from the consumer product, right? And then we freeze the algorithm. So I mean, it's like a fixed algorithm now that was trained with machine learning, but now technically in the medical products we don't use artificial intelligence, right? Because it doesn't keep on. It's like sleeping, sort of, so to speak, right? But it gets updated from time to time. So this is one part. Then obviously, yeah, you need high quality data. We annotated a lot of data. This is, I mean, just how it was presented basically in the presentation on breast cancer. It's similar, right? But just we did that with glucose curves, and so the glucose sensors, they are available for diabetics, right? So you can use them. There's Dexcom G6 and there's Abbott Freestyle Libre. You can purchase them online. So this is also how we did it at the very beginning. We just purchased them ourselves in the online shop and tested whether we reacted completely individually to meals. So super basic, actually. Even today, the manufacturer doesn't have a process for a company like ours because originally it's for diabetics, and we just use it for a different use case, so to speak. And the measure, it's a great product because it measures glucose continuously in the subcutaneous in your arm, basically, and it correlates with blood glucose. So it's not technically, it's not blood glucose, it's subcutaneous tissue glucose levels, but they have a basically perfect correlation. And that's the data we use. And for other stuff, I think it's a big problem because specifically in wearables, oftentimes the quality of data is not that good to create medical products from that. So in one research project, we use products from, what's it called again? Sorry, there's one company, it's a spin out of MIT. I forgot the name, sorry, but so these wearables cost around $1,200 actually each. Yeah, so, but yeah, it's an issue to get high quality data, sure.
But what's the next thing that one would like to measure on a daily basis?
So for glucose, it's, I mean, after all, it's a surrogate parameter that kind of gives you a hint on what the insulin response is and the hormonal response, right? And it depends. You need to solve that. You need to figure out what are also important markers, right? Now there is a natural market with diabetes for glucose measuring, which is great, right? Because you have super high quality wearable. Since it has a natural market, people have developed for it. But if you want to measure other markers, let's say triglycerides, for instance, right, or even insulin as a hormone itself, right, there are no natural sensors because there's no natural market for that. Now, probably that, I guess that is what could happen. We will see a lot of digital therapeutics now evolving for certain other diseases. And there are some hormones that we are interested in measuring. Depression, maybe we are interested in measuring dopamine or serotonin, perhaps, right? And I hope that some people, maybe here in the audience, are also from, you, for instance, from classical research institutions that are known for developing great technology and products, will be able to develop sensors for some other biomarkers at a high quality level. And then the field will advance. That's our hope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Hi, yeah, maybe I have one, although this is quite a big jump in topic. So my name is Fabian Theissen. I'm from Aachen, from the PMI, working with medical image analysis. And well, I was just wondering, this thought was a bit seeded by the talk of Hans Meine, as we're talking about the federal learning and that data should ideally never leave the clinic. So basically, this is of course what the clinics would also like to have. On the other hand, this is maybe something that Tobias Martin also meant with his, do you ensure that there will be own servers, or do you want to install these things? Like how do you describe the structure that is like state of the art within this clinical, this whole clinical ecosystem? So you basically, if you want to train efficiently on site, then you basically need hardware on site, which is like probably every clinic should have like an own GPU cluster for training these models efficiently on site. Then also the clinics have to have like personnel doing that. And I have like the feeling from my own experience that working with these clinical IT departments is always a bit challenging, as they have like these old structures that are basically focused on getting the stuff working that needed to be there. They are not really, these whole departments are really made to care for big systems. Then you have also different departments within a clinic that have different interests in how they want to share the data for like research purposes or for purposes that also would be suited for industry. And so I was a bit wondering, how do you think, maybe also to others who feel qualified to answer that, like how do you think will this topic evolve? Like is this something that every clinic will have in 10 years? How do we bridge the time until we have that? So yeah, maybe you can elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to share my thoughts, and I'm also interested in others' opinions. So we in our experience, I only briefly mentioned it on my slides. There are a number of difficult questions that are not directly to be tackled by us computer scientists. For instance, in one project, we wanted to do federated learning with the clinic, and the approach was basically that the software and also data, so the machine in the hospital was integrated in the data center, which was nice, but there was no remote connection to it. Of course, not from within our institute, but also not from someone sitting within the hospital. But you had to make an appointment with the security guard of the data